The demon spawn in Raid are what you get if Guillermo del Toro remade Alice in Wonderland. Finally, he sleeps here with another video in the Faction Wars series. This is your ultimate prize for Faction Wars, Lydia the Death Siren. On that path is Demon Spawn. Tonight our focus is on the final level 21 of said faction and what you need to remember to make your way there. First though, make sure you subscribe here at YouTube, turn on notifications so you never miss when a video goes live. It's simple and free but makes a big difference here in the channel. In order to 3-star every level of the Demon Spawn faction, you'll need to first make sure you have a team built that hits on all the main points. Now, we've went over all this information in the general guide for Faction Wars, the first video in this series, so make sure you watch that one before coming here. The link is in the description. All levels of Faction Wars require a team with all of the roles covered. At least a damage dealer and a nuker, crowd control to help through the waves, and most importantly, a support champion that acts as a cleanser, or better yet, blocking debuffs altogether, maybe even a reviver. So Dur the Hungerer is in my main support here in this faction, as he brings continuous heal for all allies, and he's one of only 2 revivers in this entire faction. Substitutes would include Duchess, obviously, as the only other reviver, or even Wyther the Crowned, or Nazana, both of which will help but not revive. Helicath, which was a free fusion event champ, plays a triple role in this team. He's my defensive lead, another support champ bringing shields and block damage, and he's a heavy damage dealer when built with a massive amount of defensive stats. Allure is a pretty common champ that is a staple in Fire Knight. Here she helps with turn meter control like she does in Fire Knight, although it's nothing major for the waves. It does, however, become very important against the boss. Skimfoos the Consumed, Diabolist, or Countess Lix would all be decent substitutes. Drexthar Blood Twin and Akoth the Seared are both free progress champs. Drexthar is a fragment champ built through the Tag Team Bazaar, and Akoth is a fragment champ built through Doom Tower Secret Rooms. Both bring HP burn and heavy damage as nukers. Lots of damage dealers in this faction, including Mortu Macabre, Magnar, Excruciator, Skimfoos, and even Houndspawn. Big notes to remember here as you work your way through. You're going to be bringing 5 champs to each battle. The damage dealer, make sure you load them with crit rate and crit damage. Lifesteal's a great kit to put them in. For your support, you need a healer or reviver, probably in a bolster or shield set for each of those. Crowd control is basically someone who's laying down debuffs on their AoE, such as sleep, stun, weaken, decreased defense, decreased speed, etc. Another few kits you can look at: regen, immortal. You're going to want accuracy, perception, speed, bolster, and shield. Talked about those already. The Faction Wars is not a sprint. It's a marathon, so you have to start with something and somewhere at the beginning. So even if you're early game, just start pounding away at it. It will start to get easier as you find and develop and start to train more and more champs for each faction. The other thing is, for any of these factions, you do not need legendaries to make them work. They will work with rares, they will work with epics. You'll find legendaries along the way, but don't look at it as like, I gotta wait until I've got a bunch of legendaries to even start this, because that's not how it works. You don't need everyone at 60 either, especially along your way through like the first 15 levels of every faction. You've basically just got to start somewhere. The other big things to remember with this, as far as this stuff goes, most of these faction levels, and not just for Demon Spawn, but for all of them, require a high amount of resist. And that's because the bosses and a lot of these will try to load your team up with like fear and HP burn or any kind of debuffs that's going to really slow you down. If you don't have cleansers in each of your factions, high resist will definitely help. Now, there are a few of the bosses as you work your way through here who do not lay down debuffs that you can resist. They are guaranteed, and when that gets into an issue, then you're kind of screwed, but there's places to go. Now for Demon Spawn, getting back to this as we're almost done here with the second wave, the final level, this is 21, brings the yellow boss. Now if you're unfamiliar with the bosses, there are multiple colors of bosses, and each of the factions have a boss at level 7, level 14, level 21. And they're all different colors. And each of the different color bosses brings a different skill set. So for Demon Spawn level 21, this is the yellow boss. The yellow boss is dreaded for the true fear and provoke spiral she can put you in. Her A1 hits 2 targets with provoke, but her A2 is a 4-turn cooldown that gives everyone true fear. Now that combination of provoke and true fear can rain hell on a team that is not able to block debuffs or resist. Her passive places a frozen or a freeze on anyone who attacks her as well. So against basically resist, cleanse, block debuffs are super important here because of the freeze on her passive. She's going to bring 2 support minions as well. And the first one is going to heal her by 80% and then place increased defense on her. Now the second heals the boss only for 30%, but places increased speed on her as well. Now, the yellow boss is specific to having support minions. Most of the minions kind of work in Congress with the boss laying down damage and doing something. These are only support minions. You're going to need to take the first one out at all costs, then the second one before you ever worry about the boss. So basically pay attention to which one's laying down an 80% heal, because if you don't take the minions out quickly enough, then she's just going to get into a cycle where she's constantly being healed. Now also, like I said, high resist or a cleanser and block debuffs will go a long way here in this final level. High resist was enough to make this one doable for me, just setting everybody up that way. Long, very long. I mean, we're 7 minutes into this and just now basically unlocking the boss, but it is doable with the champions that I had on hand, and most of those were free champions. If you do not have Dur the Hungerer for revive, make sure you build with heavy defense and high resist. Lifesteal or an equivalent gear set to help keep everyone in the fight can make a difference too. If you have other factions you're struggling with, make sure you check out the first video in the series that I talked about at the beginning of this, the general guide, which kind of goes through and gives you information for all of the factions, the basic stuff as far as building your teams and how you want to go about it. And remember, for all of these things, for these factions, you can definitely use the champions that you have that you're using for other areas of the game. But once you get closer towards 3-starring everything, you may end up building specific teams for each of the factions, which is kind of what's happening here with the Demon Spawn, just in the long trek to try to 3-star everyone on the way to Lydia. If you're still concerned about Lydia, Lydia is an epic. I say epic. She's not an epic. She's a legendary. She is a legendary champion who brings epic skills to the game, not in the sense that they're not as good as legendary, but in the sense that they are overwhelming in the game. If you look at her rating, she is a 5-star champion. She can be used in almost every single facet of the game, from clan boss to all of the dungeons. You're going to use her when you come back through faction wars in her faction. She just is a multi-use champion that is well worth putting in the effort to make sure that you 3-star each and every level of each and every faction. Besides Demon Spawn, as you can see, we've got the minions taken out now, and it's just a matter of laying down enough damage on this boss, because once you've got the minions out of the way, she doesn't have a whole lot. Her A1 is going to hit with Provoke, but like there she did, she just laid down the Provoke. But Helicath and his block damage is keeping everybody in. And even with the Provoke, if the support minions are gone, you're still hitting her with damage with every hit that you take. It's just a matter of it being, it's just a long path to take to get yourself there. Especially if you have enough resist that you're not getting hit with the freezes. It's going to end up holding you in the way. Now, Helicath is a major component to my team that I'm using. If you do not have Helicath, like I said earlier, there are substitutes for Helicath. But I mean, honestly, he is kind of a catch-all here because he's hitting in 3 different ways. He is the aura lead for defense. He's bringing block damage to everybody, and he's laying down a ton of damage. So if you don't have Helicath, you're going to have to build the remaining champions that you do have in a way that they're going to be loaded with defense, loaded with resist, and have enough HP to make it all the way through. Beyond that, though, it's just a matter of slogging it out. Again, though, minions. Once the minions are gone, this champ is much easier to deal with. We're close. We are really close. There it is. All the links for the full series are below in the video description if you have other factions that you're dealing with and kind of stuck on. If any of this information helped you out along the way in your run toward Lydia, please subscribe here using YouTube. The button, click it, smash it, whatever. It's a small gesture that goes a long way toward the growth of the channel. I'm finally He Sleeps. Thanks for hanging out. And as always, as long as you keep watching, I'll keep making videos.